Welcome to the League of Women Voters and the Alliance for the Arts Virtual Candidates Forum. Some of the League's voter service activities include candidate forums and voter guides. This information is made available to the voting public to help in their decision-making process. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization that does not support or oppose candidates or political parties. Happy learning.
Welcome to a candidate forum presented by the League of Women Voters of Lee County in conjunction with the Alliance for the Arts. The purpose of these forums is to inform the voting public of the opinions of the candidates running for office. It's not a debate. There will be no crosstalk between the candidates. There won't be any comments from one candidate on another candidate's position. They will be given 2 minutes to open. They will be given 2 minutes to close. They will be given 1 minute to answer each question. The order of answering the questions and opening and closing is random, to be decided at the beginning of the forum itself. So sit back and enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mary Beth Gentleman. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Lee County, and welcome to this candidate forum. Today we're focusing on candidates running for mayor of Fort Myers. All of the candidates running for that office were invited to participate in today's forum. So with that, let's start with our 2-minute opening statements, and we'll go alphabetically for the moment. So Ms. Anthony, will you begin with your opening statement?
Yes. Hi, I'm Gail Anthony. I've been on Fort Myers City Council for the last 5 years. I represent Ward 6. Before I became a council member, and first of all, I want to thank you so much for making this available to our voters. I think it's been very hard for us, so every chance we get, we need it. I came to Fort Myers in 2002, was recruited to Lee Memorial Hospital by Jim Nathan to come and turn Lee Memorial around. And in those years, when I retired in 2010, Lee Memorial Hospital has become top in the nation for orthopedic total implant joint surgery, as well as neurosurgery, as well as gynecological cancer surgery. I retired after turning that hospital around, rebuilding it from the inside up, and then I traveled and I was totally bored. And I started being more involved in my city and politics, and so ran for office in 2015, went to council for a year, went to advisory boards for a year, so I would know what I was doing as a voting council member, and so became elected. I have Ward 6. I hold monthly meetings at the Tree Line Fire Station. I have a very politically active group there. And so they do require a lot of meetings because they're very involved on advisory boards and very involved in the city. I've served in every leadership role on city council, from mayor pro tem to chairman of the community redevelopment agency that addresses blighted areas in our city. I've been a part of developing jobs and education for our citizens, for our city. So it's been a wonderful 5 years, and I am running for mayor because I believe I have the experience and expertise.
Thank you. Ms. McMiller.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline McMiller, and thank you to League of Women Voters for inviting me to this forum. Just to give you a little bit of background about me, I have lived in Fort Myers all of my life. I was raised here, and I graduated from high school and college here as well. I have owned my own corporation. I was appointed as the official court reporter in Collier County, and I worked there for over 16 and a half years. During my tenure there, I was responsible for managing the government there with regards to the court reporters, ensuring that all aspects of the court reporting system was provided to the judges and all of the attorneys that may be in need of those particular services. During that period of time, I also became the first African American court reporter in the state of Florida, in the Southwest Florida area, but also in real time as well. After my tenure there, I came back to Fort Myers. I opened up my business here, and I found that I wanted to have more contact with the people. And I began my tenure as a child protective investigator and management there in supervisory position. Um, what I've done with our community, I've been a community activist for over 10 years. And my expertise with working with the community from a grassroots effort, I have been part of the community activism and dealing with a lot of the grassroots level of the people. And I've spoken to people from Collier County, Gateway, and I've lived in Gateway for many years, and I'm looking forward to leading this company, this city as a company as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to questions, and you will each have 1 minute to respond. So I'll start with Ms. McMiller. What are the most important challenges that you see facing the mayor of Fort Myers, and how would you propose to address them?
Well, as a leader, we have to be able to work with all forms of people. And the challenge that I see as the mayor is making sure that we can work in a collaborative effort, and reaching the needs and meeting the needs of each ward within our beautiful city. Being able to have those conversations with everyone, but also making sure that they understand that they are being heard. Another one is balancing our budget, ensuring that those needs are being met, and also building those relationships within the city, and reaching out to ensure that our economy is building as well. So those are some of those priorities, but those are some of those challenges that we need to meet as well, because this is a full city. So as a mayor, we have to reach everyone instead of a select few.
Thank you. Ms. Anthony?
Okay. Well, first of all, I believe we've got to get through this pandemic. And the city overall financially is the strongest it's ever been. And I've been a part of getting it there. Jobs are very important to us. Training. We may have to train people that have been in other industries. So those are key. And getting through this pandemic by still trying to keep an economy going and being transparent with the citizens. I worry. I believe in telling the news, good or bad, and then together we problem solve. And I believe our city, again, is the strongest it's ever been. And if we team together with the council, and we have a great council, we're very diverse, but if we team together to get our strategies to get us through these economic times, we're going to be good, and and every citizen's going to benefit.
Okay, thank you. All right. So Ms. Anthony, let me ask you, regarding the current lack of boat ramps on the river, will you reopen the downtown ramp after the construction is over? And do you plan to create any other ramps in the city of Fort Myers?
The boat ramp, we need a boat ramp. I mean, we're a city on the water. So what do you have on the water? You have recreation and entertainment. And I think we need our hotel, and we need our amphitheater, and we need our convention center. But I've asked the city manager, as we get ready for this budget year, to bring together a major strategy for entertainment on the water. So what does that look like? I don't have an answer, but I will be very supportive of that, because We can't be a city on the water and not have the kind of activities that all of our citizens look forward to. I mean, I'm kind of the same way about the golf courses. At first, I was opposed to subsidizing, but the more I went to the golf course, the more I realized what a gorgeous green space they are in our city. And it is recreation and entertainment at all levels for our citizens. So I will definitely support a plan for this coming budget year for the boat ramps.
All right, and Ms. McMiller.
Yes, I believe the boat ramps are a necessity. As Ms. Gail Anthony indicated, we're on the water. And this is one of the biggest reasons why we have a lot of tourism. Tourism brings in the dollars. So we need to really focus on that and making sure that we have a sufficient amount of boat ramps. In addition to the entertainment around surrounding that is going to be key as well. But we have to ensure that we're doing some smart spending. Although the golf courses and this entertainment district is going to be important in making sure that we have something to supplement our income and the economy for the tourists. But we also have to make sure that we're taking care of our citizens and we're meeting those particular needs first. So making sure that the boat ramps are there, but also making sure that the citizens' needs are being met at a sufficient level as well.
All right, thank you. So staying on this general topic of economic development, Ms. Anthony, let me start with you. How do you believe the city should address economic development and infrastructure investments in a way that assures equality and equity for residents, including those in underserved neighborhoods?
Okay. I'm very concerned. We're an old city. I had lunch with somebody today, a past council person, and he's an architect, and we were talking about, we are an old city. And the number one thing we have to do for our economy and for future development throughout our city is get our infrastructure in order. We don't need leaks. We don't need spills going into the river. So I am very much supporting moving up our public works capital. And we've already put the money aside. There's money there. And so I've asked also, because we're going into the budget, and this is when we do our planning, the city manager to bring forth an expedited plan to get the infrastructure that we know continues to have problems moving. So he will bring that plan forward. Though that is to me a major plan. You can't build and develop and address housing without that.
Thank you. And Ms. McMiller.
As far as the infrastructure is concerned, in our community development, our economic development, I believe in growth. I believe in smart growth. We have to repair those infrastructures. We have to ensure our children are having difficulties just walking on the side of the street to make it to the bus stops. These are some of the things that we need to focus on. We need to have sidewalks. We have to have sufficient lighting for the kids because they're waking up in the morning and they're going to school and it's dark. So these are some of the things that we need to really focus on. All of those other things, as far as flooding is concerned, this is hurricane season. We know we have a ton of rain. We need to address those issues. We need to specifically look at those issues that have been challenging in the past, address those, and also apply that to our growth as well. So it comes full circle. If we build, we bring in the economy, but we also have to focus on what's the problem areas first.
Okay, thank you. All right, a new question, and Ms. McMiller, I'm going to ask you to start off on this one. What actions would you take to assure quality, safe, clean, affordable housing for Fort Myers residents and reduce homelessness?
That is a passion of mine, and thank you so much for asking that question. one of the things we need to do is address specifically the homeless. I've been feeding the homeless and being a part of that probably for the past 10 years. So we need to look at, speak to them, find out what their needs are. We can't assume sitting at the city council's office and at the desk what they need. And I think that that's the first thing. Secondly, affordable housing, we need to look at the economy. The what's happening with the economy right now is that there's not a lot of money here. You can't pay a $1,000 rent when you're making $10 an hour. So how can we supplement that, but also keep people working without them having to cut back and make decisions as to what they're going to do, pay their rent or pay for food or pay for transportation or pay for shoes on their children's feet. So we have to address that economic standpoint first, get them jobs, get them training so they can afford to have those housing.
Thank you. And Ms. Anthony.
Yeah, well, Jacqueline, you and I share the same passion. As a nurse, I have always been involved. There's two parts to homelessness: the drug addiction, housing need, and often, mental health issues. I'm on the Homeless Coalition. I have been. I will continue to try to help raise money for the homeless in our community. But most of all, I am on to housing. And as mayor, I believe that's the concentration a mayor needs, not cutting ribbons and not being at events. I think there are a lot of people that could do that. I think it's about housing. It's about mental health, case managing those folks with the mental illness, with the drug addiction. The first major project is in Ward 6 on Winkler and Colonial, and it is an apartment complex for 100 people that has case management from the Castle Company, and it's using Sadowski funds. I've been a huge lobbyist at the state level for Sadowski funds. So housing is at the with jobs and education is at the very top of my list. And as the mayor, I'm going to move that big time.
Thank you. So, Ms. Anthony, let me ask you a new question. What issues would you address with the police department? And in particular, do you support civil citations or other diversion programs for juveniles? And do you support them for adults?
I believe we can't solve anything by citations or arresting. It's about seeking out ways to help and to educate. I believe when I ran for office, our police system was terrible. And I ran on the fact that it was corrupt, had bad leadership, did not have what it needed to get out in our community and serve our citizens. I have worked very hard, day in and day out, with getting the right leadership in place. It's about the community. It's not about citations. It's as part of this work that I'm doing for the Lee County group that's on mental health, it's about helping people out of jail. People are often in jail and cited for the wrong reasons. They're social issues. So this is about, I'm on a journey of helping with the judges to get the people to the right place for the right kind of care, for the right kind of housing, and it's all wrapped together. We have 5,000 people right now waiting on a housing list. I think that's awful. That's just for Fort Myers.
All right, and Ms. McMillan.
With regards to the citations, I think we need to be realistic. One of the things that leads into the criminal justice system is arrest when you really don't have to be arrested. That goes back to your whole community policing. The with citations with regards to small or like marijuana less than 20 grams, those things, you're still being addressed in the court system, but you're not going through an arrest. We're already getting those people that obviously do not have the money to pay for going to court, going on probation. Now they're being violated for probation because they can't pay for the funds and they can't pay for everything that goes along with that entire court system. Not only that, for juveniles and adults, even specifically for juveniles, we have them where they now have that criminal charge against them in court, and it snowballs from there. Children make mistakes, adults make mistakes. Give them the opportunity to be able to correct those mistakes without having that criminal charge on them. So we need to make those particular changes and look at some of the things that we can do better.
Okay, thank you. Switching topics to the environment. Let me ask Ms. McMiller to start off on this one. What leadership would you provide to protect water quality and water resources in Fort Myers?
I made a comment about this because I'm one of those, my biggest thing is fishing. I love to fish, and it hurts my heart to see some of the waterways and some of these areas where I used to go fishing at when I was a little girl with my parents that are no longer accessible, or either that's been taken care of. So one of the things is going to those captains of clean water, to those experts that can give me feedback. Because of course we don't know everything. I'm not an expert at everything, but listening to them and putting in those policies in place and responding to those particular things to ensure that our most valuable resource is taken care of, and that is addressed, where we can live in Florida and not have to worry about those things.
Thank you. Ms. Anthony.
Well, I'm very much into supporting all the initiatives that are going on, and the mayor has been very involved countywide, statewide, federal wise. I would continue to be if I were the mayor. I led that effort on the Reclaim Water that we're doing with Cape Coral, which will eventually go out to our whole city so that we're not wasting water, but we're reclaiming. But most of all, this public works issue, I mean, I was very, very upset about the spill we had, over in Ward 4, and said to our city manager, and we're working on this, we need to speed this up. If we have old infrastructure, then we have the money, let's do it. Let's get this replaced, because I believe there's no excuse for a city polluting their own water. And so I'm going to be driving that home big time. I don't want to hear anymore that our pumps are old and they're antiquated. Let's get them replaced. The people deserve that. Our water deserves that. Our environment deserves that.
Thank you. Let's talk a little bit about the pandemic, and specifically, like most cities, Fort Myers is likely facing a revenue shortfall as a result of the downturn. As mayor, where would you look either for budget cuts or for revenue increases to close whatever gap the pandemic may have created? And we'll start with Ms. Anthony.
Okay. First of all, the city's the strongest it's ever been financially. Okay. And I worked hard as a council member along with my mates to do that. I mean, where our reserves should hit, it was 8 million when I came, it should hit 26 million this year. We've decreased taxes 4 years straight. I am not going to raise taxes on the people of Fort Myers, and I've already told the city manager that. So he needs to look at spending. Okay. So I've already challenged him and his leaders to look at spending. We're going to get through this pandemic because we didn't borrow any money. I made sure we didn't borrow any money for 3 years. We held the whole council. We held our borrowing. We borrowed for this hotel and the convention center garage, the hotel garage and the convention center. That's going to pay off, I do believe. And so I believe if we manage our money well, we won't put a burden on our people. This would be the worst time ever to put a burden on people that are worried about jobs, worried about housing. And so I support looking at everything we spend.
Thank you. Ms. McMiller.
Well, first of all, I would look for those federal grants. We and apply for absolutely everything that the state of Florida in this area in the city of Fort Myers qualifies for. As far as the city being the strongest ever, I question that because we have a lot of people that are starving. We have a lot of people within this city that are doing that are struggling desperately. So when we look at this overall, not having, of course, not implementing any new tax, but some of the things we're going to look at, I would look at as mayor, is the smart spending. We can check our spending and we can go back over it, but are we spending smart? And that is looking at some of the ways that we can cut those particular budgets, like law enforcement, with the city police department. See, what's necessary. What are those things that, and readdress all of their budget and look at all of these other things that is happening with the spending within the city to ensure that we're making the correct decisions with regards to that spending.
All right, thank you. So, Ms. McMiller, in your view, what would you say are the top 3 issues to coordinate with Lee County government?
The infrastructure, absolutely, is all over the area. The flooding that we're dealing with Lee County, within the city and within the county itself, as well as law enforcement. We need to see what we can do to work together in law enforcement and specifically housing. There's not struggles just within the city of Fort Myers. They're struggling all over within the county and within the city. And I think what we can do as far as the county is concerned is that we can collaborate and work on ways to work together to ensure that there's affordable housing all over, that our infrastructures are being taken care of and maintained, and as well as our law enforcement, that it is across the board. Everything has been handled in the fair way for everyone, in the fairest manner possible for everyone, Lee County as well as in the city of Fort Myers.
Thank you. And Ms. Anthony.
Okay. Again, I have to say the city of Fort Myers has worked very hard to become very financially strong to go into disasters, and the pandemic is a disaster. Lee County housing blight. I mean, we intersect over and over across the county and the city. I constantly am talking to the county commissioners because I was chair of Community Redevelopment Agency, which puts money toward blight, redeveloping housing, redevelopment through our city. We need to do stronger things together with that. I mean, because they do use the downtown. Most of the workers are county that come into our city to work downtown. So community redevelopment together, jobs, working with the justice system, which we're working closely to help people come out, get training, get jobs. We have about 4 programs in the city right now that addresses that. And also trying to deal with the homeless together. It doesn't do any good for one of us to address it if we're not together. So I've been pushing that big time.
Thank you. I want you to think about the city 10 years from now. What might be your greatest fear for the city? And what might be your greatest hope for the city? Let me start with Ms. Anthony.
Okay. So, the city has a beautiful comprehensive plan. Fort Myers is planned to be a city of about 150,000. The greatest growth has gone on in Ward 6. we want the next greatest growth to go in on the MLK corridor in Ward 4, which is down in the Midtown area. There's a huge plan out there for how we can do a better job of affordable housing. So we should follow the comprehensive plan. The hope is we're a wonderful city. We really are. We have our problems and we have our warts, but we need to keep working on them. And so in 10 years, I would hope that we'll be a nice sized city. People feel comfortable where they live. It's ergonomically usable for most people in the city. The thing I fear the most about is not working together. I mean, I believe it's an all-out effort from our council, from our mayor, from our county commissioners, and from our sister cities to look at how can we best all serve our citizens, because you go back and forth between each city. So a fear is not working together. I think we're going there, and I want to keep in that direction.
Thank you. So, Ms. McMiller.
Yes, within the next 10 years, I know that the city of Fort Myers is growing tremendously. And one of my fears is that there will be continued division, as well as the pay not being maintained with the growth. The homelessness, and if we're not aware of ensuring that we're keeping our brains into the city and enabling them to make a decent living, our teachers being able to be paid sufficiently for what they are worth, we need to keep our educated people here. So homelessness, ensuring that we keep our brains here. My fear, my biggest hope is that we can work together and have the city where we can be safe, where we can work together as a people, erase all of that divisiveness, and be the city that each and every one of us can be proud of.
Thank you. Returning to economic development and jobs for a moment. As you look out at the city and see the talent that's there, the folks who are underemployed or unemployed, what's your view of what kinds of jobs we need most in the city? And how would you go about encouraging those jobs to be created? And so let me start with Ms. McMiller.
Okay. There's always this fear of mine of seeing so many people, as I just mentioned before, having that brain drain. So we now have FGCU. We have them graduating. We have graduates. We need to find a way to keep those graduates and those brains here. So some of those things is the nursing, is those first responders, EMTs, even law enforcement. We got some great people that are graduating. Keep them here. They're going, we have a lot of criminal justice majors. Keep them here, but we have to pay them for what they're worth. Also, our teachers. These are some of the things, but also not even just focusing on the education part of it as far as higher learning and college. We have a lot of trades. So we have to look at the trades, bringing in those manufacturing jobs, bringing in those areas where they can go to school, they can go to VOTEC, and they can learn, those kinesthetic learners that want to work with their hands, but being able to make a living doing that. So bringing all of those trades together, in addition to that higher learning, and being able to make this area grow and allow it to grow.
Thank you. And Ms. Anthony.
Okay. So I've been very involved for the last 5 years in business and economic development because we all benefit, particularly with training and jobs. As the community redevelopment director, agency director for 2 years, or actually co-chair 2 years and then chair for 2 years. I've been very involved with our Enterprise Center. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but construction needs training. Actually, we have jobs. It's the training and working together with the community colleges and working with the school system to get more hands-on training for trades, which end up having higher salaries. And so I will continue to work very hard on that. I'm into salaries too. I'm in high-tech jobs that bring good salaries, and the community redevelopment has a program to support that and reward companies for doing that. Also, I believe we need a college downtown, and we're growing. We're going to be 150,000 in our plan, and we need that kind of downtown education or somewhere along the corridor. Just working with the school system. The school system has a wealth of opportunities for jobs training.
Okay. Thank you. So focusing back on you, both individually, why did you decide to run for mayor? You both touched on this a little bit in your opening, but I'd like to hear a little bit more why you decided to run for the office. And if you could accomplish one thing during your tenure as mayor, what would that one thing be?
Okay. I believe our city, when I ran, our city was at a critical juncture. It could either fall apart because we had a lot of issues, homicides unsolved, went on, or it could go forward. We have gone forward as a team of a council and the mayor working hard. I want to be mayor because I believe I'm the person who has the executive skills. I ran a hospital system bigger than the city of Fort Myers, more employees. I believe I can help with keeping to move us forward. I love our city. I love the people. I'm going to be serving somewhere. I'm going to serve either with the homeless, or I'm going to be continue to serve with mental illness, trying to get the courts to do the right thing, to get the people in the right program. And so I believe I have the skills, and I have the 5 years of experience that has our cities come out of some really bad times. And when it's good for one part of the city, it needs to be good for all parts of the city. So I want our city to be successful, and I'm willing to invest my time to do that.
All right, Ms. McMiller.
Well, one of the reasons why I decided to become mayor is the fact that I see things, and I've been living things from a grassroots effort. I have, although I have not sat on the city council, I have ran a corporation. I have dealt with the government as far as running the everything that happened within the government and working with them and managing those. I have the executive skills to be able to do that, as well as working with private agencies. So I've had the experience of both. But in addition to that, we can sit on boards all day long. When you're up high and you're looking low, you don't know what's happening from the ground up. And that's what we need to do. And I've been there. I've been there from a grassroots effort of knowing these families, working with DCF, walking into those homes where families are struggling to pay the rent, but don't know if they're going to be able to purchase the medication that's needed for the children. So making this area a stronger economy where families and parents can work and earn a living, but also ensure that they're safe from criminal activity and safe from law enforcement abuse as well.
The next question, what forum about becoming mayor would be complete without addressing traffic? How high a priority is traffic for you? And more importantly, who would you reach out to? Who would you work to? What would you advocate to improve traffic in the city? So let me start. I'll start with Ms. Anthony.
So, you know, when you go for office, you need to know as much as you can about government. And I thought healthcare was odd. Government's even more odd. So I started right away getting on the Metropolitan Planning Organization for Transportation. And I've been on it since I was elected to try to understand roads and funding and traffic. It's very complex. It can't be just put a light up here, let's do a road here. So I have moved up. The mayor let me take his place on the mayor's group of executives for the MPO. We have a plan, and nobody builds anything in our city without following the standards for what you have to do for traffic. A lot of people don't understand that, but for everything we do, there's a plan. Now, sometimes our traffic, like look at Colonial, but there's a huge new diverging diamond coming into there. That's federal dollars, that's Florida Department of Transportation dollars. So it's very complex. I will continue to be involved because it is a hot topic with our folks. Bike riding also passed. It goes on and on and on. But I've been very involved with that and continue to be.
Thank you. Ms. McMiller, transportation, traffic.
Traffic is definitely an issue in Fort Myers and within the city. One of the things I think is really important, we don't have to recreate the wheel. We have one of the things that I would say, and I always do, is reach out to those particular experts, reach out to those metropolitan planning commissioners, reach out to all of those traffic experts that will be able to guide us in making those particular decisions. These are things that we can look for and ensure that is being done with those planning commissions, but also being able to understand it, what's best for the communities, widening of the roads possibly, but also again, with as Ms. Gail Anthony indicated, understanding we need to ensure that those sidewalks are in place. We have a lot of people that visit here that the bicyclists, and ensuring that they're going to be safe in addition to the traffic. So I think it goes twofold, ensuring that the entire traffic area is covered, but also ensuring that the people that we're dealing with and the families are safe to be able to enjoy the roads as well.
Thank you. So Ms. McMiller, let me start this question with you. What role, if any, do you think the city should play relative to food insecurity in Fort Myers?
We have a large amount of like the Harry Chapin food banks and the Nations Association. We need to reach out more. We need more of those particular facilities. They are right now, they are at a maximum with everything going on with the pandemic. They have been a godsend. But I think the city needs to do more. Whenever we're going into some type of pandemic as we are now, or any type of disasters, are we going to be prepared for that? And at this point, I don't see a plan that the city has with regards to that. And I would like to hear it. The reaching out, making a plan, ensuring that we have those resources available with regards to housing in case of any type of tragedies such as the hurricanes or anything like that. We need to make sure that they're there. But there are a lot of kids that are starving right now. There's a lot of families that are starving right now. They need to get out there, as I do, be on the streets, find out what their needs are, ask them what their needs are with regards to food, and ensuring that they have those safe places.
Thank you. Ms. Anthony.
Can I just say one public service announcement? The community members are a part of the planning and transportation, and they love being on those and giving advice to the people who vote. So that's a good thing. So more should be involved. We do have a plan, and after the pandemic occurred, each council member took some of our funding that we can use, and we've given it to our food banks. We've given it for housing. The city has had grants from our CBDG block, grants to use for utilities, for temporary housing. So the city is participating big time. And I have very much pushed that. I want a trust fund set aside in this next budget year, along with my council members too, to address housing. Maybe we don't do it, but one of the experts that does housing, we will fund that. So I'm pushing that big time. So the city does have a plan. We are a social needs city.
Thank you. And I'll ask you one last question each, and I'll start with Ms. Anthony. Our neighboring city, Cape Coral, has a lot going on. It's growing and so forth. As mayor, how would you approach coordination with Cape Coral? And on what one or two issues do you think coordination would be useful?
Okay. And our mayor does do that. The mayors have a council. Actually, they're very close, and they work very close together on needs of each city. And also, we have an economic development group council that they're all a part of also. So that would continue so that we can help address all citizens' needs, not just the city. I would coordinate the water issues. I think that's still, it's solidarity to come together to coordinate those issues. And I know there's a big move on with our mayor currently on housing. Okay, so we talk about housing all the time, but do you hear anybody else talking about the housing needs that we have for those that can afford it? Not quite as much. And so that is a continued effort that needs to come through the mayor's council. So they're very active, and they will continue to be.
Thank you. And Ms. McMiller.
One of the main things I think that we need to look at is the environment, specifically the water. There is the reclaimed water process that's happening, and that's slated for between Cape Coral and Fort Myers. We're already dealing with a lot of the spills, and what are we going to do with a situation like that? There's going to be a pipeline that goes from the city, from the Fort Myers over to Cape Coral. And they are going to reprocess that water to be able to use in their area. Yes, we're going to get income from that, and I do understand that, but we also have to focus on what areas do we have that we have in place to protect the waterways, the Caloosahatchee River, to ensure that it is not going to be polluted if there is a spill. That is, I'm terrified of it. Anyone that knows about this this reclaimed water needs to be aware of it, and partnering together with the water and the housing, because we have a lot of citizens that commute between Cape Coral and Fort Myers for their jobs. So we need to address that as well.
Thank you. Well, we've come to the end of our questions, and now I'm going to ask you to give your closing statements. I'm going to ask Ms. McMiller if she will start us off.
Thank you. Well, thank you again for inviting me to be here and being a part of this forum. I'd like to say that I am committed to the city. As mayor of Fort Myers, we need new leadership. We need open thinking. We need someone who has been able to experience each end of the spectrum of life in Fort Myers. I have lived in Gateway for almost 10 years, and I've also lived and grown up in Fort Myers basically all of my life. My parents still live here, and I've moved back here to take care of my elderly parents. I love this city, and to know that we can bring in new leadership to address all of these, everything that's been happening. The people that have been on the city council has had their opportunity to make those changes. We hear about all of these plans and all of these boards that everyone has been on. However, we have all plans, but there have been no action with regards to the homeless situation. How many have we seen that have been out there feeding the homeless, talking to them on a grassroots level of saying, what's going on with you? What can we do? Mental health, addressing that mental health, the mental health crisis in the city. Right now, if the homeless goes to North Fort Myers, they're sent from North Fort Myers back to Fort Myers. They're being shuffled everywhere. Let's come up with some answers. Let's come up with answers to the homeless situation, answers to our housing situation. What can we do? And I have answers for those, and I do have a plan. We're not coming up with anything with regards to what we can do. I'm saying what we know we can do. And the city leaders right now have had that opportunity. They have not addressed it in a manner that is great for the people of Fort Myers. And we need new leadership. We need new thoughts, and we need to bring a change in Fort Myers. And as mayor, I'm here to do that.
Well, thank you. And Ms. Anthony.
Well, thank you so much. I'm glad I participated in it. And Jacqueline, it was nice to meet you today too. You know, my heart, I love our city. I'm a retired executive. You know, I want to give of myself, which I have, in helping the homeless on the streets. Again, mental health is a passion for me. I was very involved. I started the first mental health unit at Lee Memorial, hired the physicians, psychiatrists, nurse practitioners. That is, to me, the focus that the mayor needs. I love our city. One part of our city can't be great and the rest not. We need to continue all to come together to keep our city moving forward. The city is the strongest, I'll argue that with anybody, it's ever been financially by great effort of this council. And the effort was to say, we can't spend money. We've got to, you know, we've got to look at our reserves. We've got to have money for pandemics, hurricanes, whatever comes our way. It was abysmal. Even the pension plans when I joined were an F grade. That really bothered me because people are counting on that. We are now 75% funding. So I have worked every day to make us a great city, a good city, all of those for every citizen, not just one group of citizens. I will continue to do so. I see the mayor's role very different from what the mayor has been. I believe it's all about helping the people, bringing the people up, getting jobs, education, taking care of people that are out on our streets, getting them case managed and so forth. So I will continue that. And if I'm not elected mayor, I will still continue that. It's my heart and my passion. But we have great people in our city. Every one of them care about the city and like living here. And more people want to come here. So thank you so much for having us today.
Well, on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Lee County and the Alliance for the Arts, I really do want to thank you for the time you've spent with us today, explaining your views, explaining what you do if elected mayor, and that is invaluable to the voters in the county. So again, many thanks and good luck to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Beth.